Good morning, or afternoon, or night, or whenever you're listening to this. I don't really care. You might be in a coma and someone's feeding this into your ear holes. Welcome to Nerdin' Out. Oh, that was Evan. I think you heard him a little bit.
Hi.
He's back. We're back. It's been a while.
It has been a while, my friend. How have you been?
I've been all right. A little bit overwhelmed with work, a little bit overwhelmed with life.
I've been away.
You've been away, but have you been overwhelmed with anything, or have you just been doing things? I don't know.
I mean, definitely a lot of overwhelming stuff. I mean, I was thanks to the hiatus, anyway, the hiatus was due to the fact that I was in Germany.
What is that, like a country?
Germany? Yeah. Yes.
And Europe?
In Europe, yeah.
Oh man, what did you do in Germany?
Well, I think I've mentioned on the show a few times that I have a girlfriend. Mm-hmm. But she's not my girlfriend anymore.
You guys broke up?
No.
Thank God.
She's my fiance now.
Oh.
Yeah.
Fiance.
So we are engaged
Congrats.
now. Yeah. So I'm very overwhelmed now with like visa paperwork and like planning a wedding and like trying to get a job and a lot of things like that. So now that's all very overwhelming now.
See, I thought you were going to say you were overwhelmed with like love and happiness. But then there's the whole reality where you have to do all this stuff.
The honeymoon phase for us ended like after like the first 2 weeks of us dating. Like it didn't last very long because like the long distance kind of makes you like reality hits you in the face really quick. So you don't really have a lot of time to be all lovey-dovey. So, but
that's awesome, man.
But my trip was good, and I thought that while I'm away, I'm probably going to be watching a lot of movies, whether it's in-flight movies or if I'm going on a date or whatever with my fiance while I'm over there. So I made a list of movies that I watched for the first time, just in case like I wanted to talk about any of them. And I ended up watching 3 movies that kind of stuck out to me that I really liked.
Are these like the good movies that you watched?
Yeah, the 3 I was gonna say a majority of these are more of the movies that I watched that I liked. I did watch a few other movies for the first time that I didn't really like, and I'll mention those later. But the first one was The Foreigner, starring Jackie Chan.
Jackie Chan,
and that one was incredible. I think
he's still alive.
Yeah, he's still alive and still a badass.
And
actually,
still kicking.
Oh yeah, he kicks a lot in this movie. It's a really good movie. I'm not going to go too much into detail about these films, but it's a really good film, and it does a really good job of not making Jackie Chan the main focus, or it does a really good job of not like making it like the Jackie Chan show. And you can tell he's the main character because the main conflict is surrounded around him.
Okay.
However, they do a really good job of not focusing on him.
It's not like Jackie Chan just do all the kung fu and that's all it is.
Yeah. Oh no. There's definitely story.
Wow.
And it's very very good. The second one was The Greatest Showman, and Lada, she saw this once already, and then when I got there, she asked me, "Have you seen The Greatest Showman?" And I said, "No, I haven't." She was like, "Okay, well that's what we're gonna go do. We're gonna go do that now." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So we went and saw it, and it was great. Like I had no exceptions to seeing it before. I just hadn't got a chance to see it yet. And it was the music, the soundtrack to this film is incredible.
See, that's crazy because I saw the trailer. I still have not seen it, and I don't plan on seeing it. I don't know. It just seems like the cheesiest thing. But everyone I talk to is like, it's amazing, and I'm like,
no, it's not. It's not cheesy at all.
Wow.
It's very moving. Like a lot of cried. Not because it was sad, but more it was just moving. It was just emotional.
It wasn't like, this is so bad.
No.
Wow.
Well, no, because
now I kind of want to see it. I'll see it when it comes out.
Yeah, because Hugh Jackman is incredible, like without saying, and just his surrounding cast. I was watching this and I thought, wow, Zac Efron can actually sing a little bit. I forgot. Like I had blocked out High School Musical and all that stuff.
And that he existed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no, I know he existed, but in most of the movies now, he just plays as a douchebag. So I forgot. They're like, oh, wow, this guy can actually sing a little bit. So it was really good. And I thought, yeah, like the soundtrack is amazing. And I actually, I've downloaded most of the music and I'm listening to it a lot.
Almost everyone I talk to is like, yeah, I listen to the music just on its own because it's so good.
It is good. It's really, really good.
Oh, man.
I think you would love it a lot. Like, even though, I'm not a big fan of musicals either myself.
See, I used to hate musicals. I love them now. After stuff like La La Land, that was great. Anyway, The third movie you saw was
Black Panther.
Black Panther. I still haven't seen it. Hopefully I'll see it today after work.
Yeah.
We'll see though.
Yeah, we can maybe do a review about it later. However, it is, I think,
Give me 3 words. Whatever comes to your mind.
Best Marvel movie.
Wow. Okay, that's a bold statement.
I know.
We'll revisit that in the future.
I think so far, like, this is the best Marvel movie so far, because it is part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but it's not filmed that way. It's filmed.
It's its own thing.
Yes, it's filmed as its own thing, which I think is amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm not going to go too into it because it's not. This isn't a review. I'm just saying it's amazing. If you haven't seen it, go see it.
Well, I guess I'm going to see it today.
You have to see it.
All right. Well, we've got news.
We do have news. Speaking of Marvel Cinematic Universe,
yes,
the Infinity War movie got its release date moved up
1 week.
1 week, one whole week.
April 27th. And that might not sound like much 1 week, but for us fans, we're freaking out a little bit. It's 1 week closer.
It's 1 week closer, yeah, exactly.
And it's a different month. It's April.
Yeah, it's in April now. It's not in May. Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. Oh, God, kill me.
Like Amazing Spider-Man, or what are you talking about?
No, because it used to be in May.
Oh, Evan, you've come a long way.
I
don't know which direction, and it's good or bad.
I hate myself. But then the next piece of news we have is Dragon Ball Super, the
anime.
The anime that's caused this thing called the Dragon Ball Renaissance over the last 5 years. It's like the spearhead of it. Has only 2 more episodes in the series after episode 129 airs.
So it's gonna end on 131.
It's going to end on 131. They have confirmed it, and they have not said whether or not it's going to continue later, or if there's going to be another series after that, or if it's going into
But this is just Super. That's just...
Yeah, the Super is ending. We're getting a movie at the end of this year, though.
Okay, so will the movie be following 131?
We don't know. We don't know a whole lot of... We only know that the movie in December-ish, that time, is going to be about the Saiyans and the history of the Saiyans. That's the only thing we know about. Okay. So we don't know if it's a continuation of Super or if it's explaining stuff about. We don't know. We don't know anything. There's not a lot of information about it.
All right.
However, that's happening, and I'm kind of sad about it.
Yeah, I mean it's been a big deal for a while.
Yeah.
So as I pick at this wax on our marble table, that's encrusted with gold. So Black Panther's been out for a couple weeks, and it's doing really well critically and financially.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It came out February 16th, so it's been about 2 weeks since it came out. As of last night or now, it's gotten a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's ridiculous.
Which is really good. And so far has made about $704 million worldwide.
Wow.
And
that's almost $1 billion.
In the first 2 weeks.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's very impressive. And
so good job, Black Panther.
And and this isn't anything it's a hype movie. That's why it's making so much money. No, it's making a lot of money because it's a good movie. And I think
which is good for film.
Yeah, and it's just more bad news for Warner Brothers. They're really falling behind now.
Yeah,
with DC and everything, they're really in the hole now. Aquaman's got to be great. Aquaman has to be great.
I mean, it's going to be maybe passable at best, I think. We'll see.
If it's anything like Black Panther, and if they make an Aquaman movie, just the Aquaman movie, and it's not an obvious DC Cinematic Universe thing, I think it'll be okay, but I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to be a bunch of tie-ins to the Justice League and future stuff. It's not going to be just an Aquaman movie.
And not to sound like horrible Marvel fanboys, but Netflix has Jessica Jones Season 2 coming out, which is also Marvel. Yeah, so they have their own darker cinematic universe for TV, basically.
Yeah.
And Jessica Jones is a superhero. She's an investigator into people's dark pasts, and she has super strength. So it's coming out March 8th. I saw the first season. So good. I'm so hyped. Yeah.
Cool.
I would say that the Marvel Netflix series rival the movies. They may be better.
Really?
Personally.
I think it's because it's a series and they have more time to build characters.
True. That may be true, but I also just prefer them.
Yeah, okay.
But the Marvel Cinematic Universe is still fantastic.
Yeah.
Also, moving on to a little bit of gaminess, Nintendo Switch has been out a year today.
Happy birthday, Nintendo Switch.
To our favorite handheld TV.
Also console thing. It's definitely revolutionary.
It's definitely interesting. It's a good console.
It's in a realm of its own because it's handheld, but it's also something that you can like plug into your TV. So it's definitely,
and it's
revolutionary.
And it's also currently the highest selling console, like pace wise,
Of
all time.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah, it's ridiculous
because it has a lot of practical. Like I remember I played freaking Mario Kart on the plane with a guy who had a Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, it's great.
And it's like because he was just like, hey, you want to play Mario Kart? And I was like, what?
Do I not want to play Mario
It's like,
Kart? I mean, of course.
I was just like, yes. So yeah, I think it's probably Nintendo's like biggest accomplishment, like after
Wii,
like Super Mario and Wii and all that stuff. Like it's definitely they're definitely killing it right now in that regard.
Bravo to you, Nintendo.
Kudos to you, Nintendo.
So what is stuff we're into right now?
Well, for me, speaking of like anime, like Dragon Ball and stuff like that, I've been on this app or it's a phone app, but it's also a website called Verve, VRV.
That's got like Crunchyroll and all that stuff.
Crunchyroll, Funimation, a bunch of other things. They have Rooster Teeth and other
online crap.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say the series from Nerdist called Because Science. That's on there. That's on there as well.
So it's like some live action stuff, some like
it's like some live action stuff.
Whatever.
So they have a lot of Verve has a lot of like nerd culture stuff on there. So yeah, it's really cool, and I've been on there trying to expand my anime watching like repertoire and just kind of like what I watch and stuff like that, and expand my horizons a little bit.
That's the phrase I was thinking, and I'm really sad to use it because that just means it's overused. But anyway, expanding the horizons is what I meant.
Repertoire?
No, repertoire is fine. That's a brilliant word.
Expanding my horizons. Oh, okay.
I was trying so hard not to say it, but it came out of you. So
yeah, but yeah. So I've been trying to. I'm not going to go into like the list that I have. Not that it's shameful or anything, but just like I can go on for a while because like I've found a lot of different things that I'm going to try to get into, and I've watched a few of them that are kind of like, okay, I'm not going to follow this anymore. But there was one that I watched all the way through, and I thought it was definitely different. It's called The Future Diary.
Yeah, you recommended that to me.
Yeah, because it's weird, and it has its moments where it's kind of like fan service-ish a little bit. A little bit. Not, but it doesn't get like too in your face.
Okay, just
about
kind of
it.
like there.
It's kind of like there, and it most of the time, all the time, it doesn't really have anything to contribute to the story, but for some of the time, it definitely like adds to the characters and just kind of like how like
it's not just like someone was over the top in your face horrible.
No, it's not. It's not like High School of the Dead or anything like that. It's just it's kind of like it's there and you're like, oh, okay, and then that's it. But the rest of the story is pretty interesting and the concept of the plot is pretty good. So I think you would like it. It kind of messes with your head a little bit.
Was it called Required Fertility?
No, The Future Diary.
The Future Diary. I was close.
Wasn't
at all close.
Very, very close. And video game wise, I've been playing this new game that came out the beginning of February called UFC 3. It's a fighting game. It's developed by EA Sports, and it's
I mean, it's fun to watch.
I was gonna say you've watched me play it a little bit.
Snap some necks.
It's not like that. You're not killing people,
no,
but you're in the octagon of the MMA and you're fighting. You're
120 pounds.
Yeah, exactly. You got Mark Buffer doing the "Let's get ready to rumble" voice, and it's a lot of fun. They have this one mode called Knockout Mode where it's kind of like Rock'em Sock'em Robots but with like people, and you have to hit them a certain amount of times before they get knocked out. It's pretty fun.
I'm just picturing people with those animations. It's like so stiff.
Like the head just like flies off into the stands and
just like glitchy, how it just like stretches out.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm gonna have some friends over later tonight and we're gonna try playing that a little bit and that'll be fun. So that's kind of what I have been into recently. So what about you, Nathaniel?
Yeah, so I recently got Sonic Mania for Nintendo Switch.
Yes,
it's basically Sonic 4 so they have the old school like retro first Sonic games,
right?
And it's basically number 4, like Sonic 4. It has the same graphics but like in HD. So you even have an option to put in like the rendering from an old TV, which is like pretty cool. But it has half stages that are redone from the old games like Green Hill Zone and stuff like that.
Right.
And then it has brand new stages. Basically what happened was Sega got some indie developers who were super passionate about Sonic and they were like, make this game. There's 3 of you, make this game.
Wow.
And it's fantastic.
Yeah, I know. I heard about it when it came out and it was like really, really popular.
Yeah,
like a lot of the old classic like Sonic fans like fell in love with it and they thought it was like the best thing since sliced bread.
Because Sonic games aren't known to be the best.
No,
they're really hit and miss, mostly miss. So it was a big
they're mostly miss, not a lot of hits.
No, only like backhand hits to the fans' faces.
You can switch the phrase to it's mostly miss and hit.
Yeah, there's like Sonic Mania is a hit, and like what was that other Sonic game that came out recently? Sonic Forces. That was like really bad, and it came out a few months after. So
it can't. Yeah.
They should just.
Well, I mean, like on paper, it was supposed to be fun because it's like you're making your own Sonic OC, and that was supposed to be like the fun part of it. And they added like the classic Sonic to the story mode,
right? But it was just
which was like the whole like interdimensional like plot point or whatever, and that's why there
Evan,
was
let's
like,
stop talking about this game. It's so bad.
I'm trying to defend it a little bit.
No, don't defend it. It's trash. Okay, maybe it's like a little like sparkly trash.
People tried really hard on that, Nathaniel.
I know, but they should just.
They should be ashamed.
Not make a sequel or anything.
They should be ashamed.
I wouldn't go as far as that, but yes, they should be.
I wouldn't go that far, but yeah.
So I've also been playing. So I waited a while to get this game, and it came out January last year, and I knew there was going to be DLC, so I held off. Also, I was broke, so I couldn't buy it. So by the time I got announced for the Gold Edition, Resident Evil 7 finally came out in December, and I just got it. Wow.
I've watched you play a little bit of it.
Oh my gosh, it's so scary!
Yeah.
So I just backed up from the microphone and yell.
I was going to say, that's probably like the loudest I think you've ever gotten in this.
Probably, and I had to back away like quite a bit because I've never played such a terrifying game.
The thing is, I've seen you play the game, and I've watched you. First of all, you're not very good at handling like scary games and stuff like that. Like that's not really your thing.
See, I like typically am good at handling scary games. This is like on another level for me.
And it's funny because it's like I've seen playthroughs. I haven't played the game myself, but I know most of the story, and I've kind of watched gameplay of it, so I kind of knew what was going to happen. And so I was watching him play like the first part of it, and like there was a part coming that he hadn't seen before, and I was like, I know it's coming.
No, I'm a little baby girl with this game.
Oh my gosh,
what is happening?
Yeah, and I think in the atmosphere, and they did a really good job with like world building and making this like place really like ominous and like not and very like misconcerting and just like not knowing what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's not just there's like a few jump scares, but it's not just jump scares. It's like the whole like.
But they're not cheap jump scares. They're like
they're
very well earned.
Yeah, so I've played that a couple times so far, probably like 2-3 hours in.
How many times have you peed your pants playing this so far?
I mean, I don't have any more left in me. It's just like all gone.
My bladder's dehydrated.
It's worse. I don't have a bladder
Every
anymore.
time I get scared, you just hear like my bladder like squeak because it's like trying to squeeze pee out.
I basically peed my bladder out, so I don't have that ability anymore.
No.
Anyway.
Oh, that's gross.
With that image in your mind.
Okay.
It's time to move on to our main topic.
Book to film adaptations. Why don't they work?
Why? Is that like your impersonation of Jerry Seinfeld?
It's like, well, what about airline food? No, it's not a very good impersonation. It's just I wrote it out on the outline, and I didn't realize that that's what it sounded like. But I read it in my head like that once, and I was like, nah. But that's our main topic today. Like, why don't book to film adaptations normally work, or why aren't they always as successful as the books are?
So I think we can all agree that books are outdated and should just be wiped, and nobody should have books. No, that's not what we're saying.
Be careful.
Basically, books are like a huge source material for a lot of movies.
Yeah.
Like most movies are based off a book.
Yeah. Nowadays, yeah.
Nowadays, yeah.
I think you see a lot of trailers end with or begin with like based on the best selling novel, and it's like,
and even if they don't, I like go onto Wikipedia and it's like based on a novel, and I'm like a little bit disappointed because it's not original material.
Yeah, because Hollywood isn't creative anymore, and they just need.
They're like, what can we rip off next?
It's like, which book is the most popular right now? That one? Okay, let's do that one.
Let's grab it.
Yeah. So
why is it so hard to stick to source material, you think?
I mean, personally, I think it's because I think it's mostly because the studio gets too involved, and they want to make it more profitable and more more geared towards like a specific audience that they think is going to make more money.
Okay.
And then also it just comes down to budget, because like some books can be like 1,000 pages long, or and
like it is 1,000 pages long.
It is 1,000 pages long. And if you make, and they did a smart thing with it. With Stephen King's It. They made it into 2 parts. And but what was great about it is that you didn't know it was going to be split into 2 parts till the end,
right?
Like to the very end. I mean, even like obviously, if you've read the book, you know that like it doesn't end.
You would
with,
see it coming more.
Yeah. If you've read the book and if you know the story, you know that movie doesn't end, that story doesn't end with the kids defeating it and then them all going on with their lives. There's a second part when they're adults.
Right. Spoilers, but also you should have seen this by now.
Sorry. Before we go any further, spoiler alert, because we're going to be talking about stories and there's going to be major plot points that we're going to be talking about as arguments or whatever. So, okay, now you've been warned. Sorry. A little late. Now, and so when like the credits roll and then it's It Chapter 1, it's like, oh, okay, so that is what they're going to do. So I think what happens is with a lot of books that are like particularly longer, like the Lord of the Rings trilogy, those are very long books. Or like
they're also very long movies, though.
They're also very long movies. But the thing is, though, it's like if you try to make one of those books into one movie, like scripts, normally when it comes to screenwriting, 1 page is 1 minute. That's like how a screenplay is supposed to be written, or like the format is supposed to be one page. Is supposed to be
around like 100-something pages, right?
Yeah, typically it depends.
Give or take.
Yeah, well, because the thing is, though, it's like if it's 100 pages, then the movie's going to be about 100 minutes.
Right.
So the idea of it is that if you wrote a 1,000-page script, that's 1,000 minutes, and no one's going to sit through a 1,000-minute movie.
I mean, Blade Runner is already like a ridiculous amount of minutes, but that's not even 1,000 minutes.
No, that's like 230, isn't it?
It's 3 hours.
Oh, it's 3 hours? Okay.
It's a little over 3 hours, I think.
A little over? Okay. Well, anyway, the point is, like...
No one's going to make a 1,000-minute movie.
No one's going to make a 1,000-minute movie. And I think... what happens is they... an example of this would be Aragorn. Or Aragon.
Oh, no. Yeah, I was going to mention that at some point, but here we are.
Yeah.
So...
Do you want to take this one?
I don't. So I'm going to, but so basically the book growing up. It wasn't like the best book, but it was near to me because I actually owned the copy. So it's like fancy.
I owned the first and the second book.
Yeah, I own all of them. I read through all of them.
Yeah. How many books were there again?
I believe there are 4. There were going to be 3, but they extended the last one to 2, which was a really bad idea because it was just a lot of filler. Anyway, we're not going to talk about how I feel about the books. A little bit, just the first one. So I really liked the first one. It was just, I read it a few times as a teenager, and I was like, okay, I really like this. And then I heard they were making a movie, and I was like, okay, I'm excited for this. After like Lord of the Rings and stuff, like they better not mess up. Aragon, of course, is not Lord of the Rings, even in the book world. It's just like a little, like 16-year-olds, like fantasy, book fantasy. So they made the movie, and they said, oh, it's called Aragon, but we don't really follow the book. We just kind of, it's called Aragon. And it like has some of the plot points, but some of the big like plot points we completely change and don't care about.
Right.
And I think that's a big thing in movies where they take plot points in the book, like plot points, not like details. They take like plot points and they completely change what happens.
Yeah.
For example, in Aragon, and this is a spoiler. So basically, Aragon in the book, he finds out that Brom is a dragon rider because Brom tells him as he's dying. In the movie, Aragon is like, oh yeah, I figured out that you're a dragon rider. I just like rubbed off your hand and like there's this symbol that says you're a dragon rider. I found out by myself because I'm so smart. Now, the character is not that smart. He's an idiot. Both in the book and in the movie, so that makes no sense.
Yeah, I mean, and I think what ended up happening was they try to create this. Most films, a lot of films now, they fall into this. Most studios have this condition, and it's called sequelitis.
Yes,
and they try to make films with the intention of hyping a sequel.
Right.
And I think that's what happened with Aragorn in the movie.
See, in Aragorn,
like they were trying to hype and tease a sequel so bad, but it was so poorly received that they were like, well, now
we can't make it.
We can't make it now because everyone hated it. And
it like makes sense with that one because there was a sequel, like there is a sequel book. Like there's another book, but they, like you said, they tried too hard to set it up with the intention of making a sequel to where it kind of ruins the first film.
But then I've only read 3 or 4 of the Harry Potter books. But my fiance has read all of them. Like,
good for her. She's a good woman.
A few times through each and seen all the movies. Now, when I watched, and she made me watch all of the movies all the way through, even though I had seen like the first 4. She was like, okay, well now we have to go through, all of them. It's like we can't just pick up. No. I'd seen all of them except for the last 2, like the 7 part 1 and part 2.
Yes.
I'd seen all of them except for those 2, and she said, okay, well now we have to watch all of them again. I'm like, we can't just watch the last 2 because like I've seen everything else. She's like, no, we need to watch like every single one of them. I'm like, okay, so I got like the reader's commentary the entire time going through that marathon. She went
from her
telling me, she's like, in the book they did this differently, in the book they did that differently. And it's interesting because from what I got from her and just from the Harry Potter series, the film series and the book series, they are for the most part pretty close. Like they're pretty similar. Like they didn't go too far from the source material.
But they do like drift a little bit the further along you go in the series, but they still are like pretty close.
They stay pretty true to the source material. And I think with something like that, it's because like the book series was so popular before and it had such a huge fan base, whereas Aragorn didn't. So I think they're like, we can go a little bit off the source material. I don't think anyone will notice.
And I remember I actually seen the director of Aragon, who it was his first movie that he directed, by the way. Oh. He was like, yeah, I want to just put my own stamp on it and kind of just come up with whatever because I want to like have my own creative vision. And I think that's a big thing that causes Hollywood films to fail.
Okay, not when it's an adaptation, because you don't want to make something that's your own if it's an adaptation, because it's already somebody else's.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest shortcomings to Hollywood film adaptations.
That's so bad.
Is when the director or the studio or whoever, they want to put their own spin on it so badly that they change too much.
Yeah.
I think adaptations are at their best when they take moments from the books that work and translate them into like the film well.
Yeah. And I think kind of what you said, and then my point kind of goes into the next topic, question, or whatever, is with casting and budget, stuff like that. It's hard to make exactly what the writer is written into a thing that we see visually and take in. And what happens is there becomes this battle of viewers/readers versus versus Hollywood's like imagination, the imagination, because it's like thousands and millions of people are reading this book, and each person has their own imagination creating this world as they read it.
And like one reader's imagination might be like based on what they read in the book. If you were to translate that onto the screen, that would be like what? It would be like a 5-10 billion film maybe. Dollar film, depending on what they see, because it's just not possible, like budget-wise.
Right, exactly. So I think that's why there's a lot of people who complain about it, and I think it's mostly because they're complaining because that's not how they envisioned it in their head.
Right, but it's just not realistic as a film.
Right, yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah, and so I think sometimes it's not really fair to complain and say that, that's not what it's like in the book, because it's like it's not what it's like in the book to you. And I think that's kind of what happens a lot, is because people have their own image of what it looks like in their head, and then when they see like the casting and when they see the the on-screen performance and all that stuff, they're like, well, that's not how I envision it in my head.
I saw him as a redhead or this or that, and like sometimes the book will say specifically details like that, so it's like sometimes
it makes it easier to cast and stuff, but
sometimes it doesn't make sense why they would take it out. But yeah, a lot of times us as readers, we have too big an expectation, and it's kind of unfair to judge films on things that they can't really do or things that we didn't like see.
Yeah. So an example of this, I don't know how true this is. I saw like a blog post about it, and I read about it a while ago. But Hunger Games.
Yes.
I read those when it first came out. I haven't read any of the books.
Okay.
But my sister has my 17-year-old sister has read through all of them, and she kind of confirmed this news a little bit. And the idea was, in the first book, Rue, now you can confirm this with me,
sure,
was was described as a dark child. Was she described as a black child, or how was she described?
I can't remember exactly, but from what I remember, it was like a dark-skinned kid.
A dark-skinned kid? Okay.
I want to say, I could be completely wrong. It could have been like orange-skinned or like
whatever.
Plaid. I don't know.
The idea behind this was that there was a big uproar about the casting of her character, because there was a lot of people who read the book and were outraged that she was African American, or like the actress was black. And that there's a lot of people saying that, well, no, she was a dark child, but that doesn't mean that she was black and whatever. And an apparent caused a big uproar, apparently. Now, I don't know how accurate that is, or like how much, whatever. But that was a big thing, because apparently people read it and they imagined her differently. So when they saw it on screen, they were like, well, that's not how I envisioned it at all. This is all wrong. Blah 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 blah. Whether or not that was a decision by executives or not, I don't know. Or like, I haven't read the book. So that's just an example of viewers versus Hollywood's imagination. It's just like
kind of like just casting and what is in the like book.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
This is like a minor thing, but like in the Harry Potter series, there's this character. He's Slughorn. You know, the guy in, I think he's like the 5th movie or something, 6th movie. Yeah, Half-Blood Prince. He has a walrus mustache in the book, and in the film, he has no mustache. So it's like little details like that I'm just like interested.
Wasn't there one character that was Ron's love interest in like the 5th or 6th movie that she started out, her character was black.
Yes,
and then they changed it
because now she was Ron's love interest. She had to be white because wasn't she black in the book? In the book.
Or did it not specify?
No, I think in the films before, she was a black character and they changed her to white as soon as it was Ron's love interest. In the movies.
Why?
Because why would you have a black and white person in a relationship? That's like too much for film. I don't know.
I mean, my fiance is white and I'm Hispanic. I mean, it's not...
It's stupid. It's retarded, like, Hollywood thing.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's like one of those things where, we can't have, like, a black character as that character because film and Hollywood, and we would never cast... Nah, it's just stupid.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, it was... That's just, like, a weird side thing. What's her name again?
I don't remember the character's name. I'm probably...
No, I mean...
I'm probably... My fiance will probably text me about it. She's like, her name was this, and it's like, okay, sorry.
The thing is, I know her name, but I'm gonna cut this entire part out because I don't want us to seem stupid.
Whatever. People know who, like, what we are and what we're about. They know. They shouldn't be surprised.
I'm surprised at me.
But yeah, so like basically, and also it just kind of comes down to lack of creativity on Hollywood's part and how it's like they can't in like originality.
See, I think the fact that they're picking books can already be like a form of laziness. Instead of coming up with their own ideas, they're picking books, and that isn't inherently bad. But for Hollywood, they see it easy picking because they pick popular books. They're like, oh, we'll sell it based on the name, so let's just do whatever we can.
Kind of like 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah, let's just pick something that's popular and make a passable version of it, and just set it to a formula and just do something that we see has sold, and just
And it kills me because, like, going back to...
Because you love 50 Shades of Grey as a book?
No.
Okay, thank goodness.
No. What's killing me about it is that, going back, it's like we're talking about, like, it's from the source material. It's like, for the most part, like, a book, if you've ever read a screenplay, it's like, a book is very similar to a screenplay. It's just the format's different. It gives screen direction, and depending on which perspective it's from, if it's third person, that's the closest thing to a screenplay. Like when you're talking about a book, because it gives screen on screen direction, tells you what the characters are doing, tells you what the characters are saying.
It's mainly just less visual detail because you see that.
It's less. Yeah, exactly. And then if it's in first person, you get less of it because you're only seeing like what that person is saying. And then there's second person, but we don't talk about that. That's like the third cousin, and no one likes second person.
I thought you were gonna say nobody loves the third cousin. I was gonna cry.
No one loves the third cousin.
Sorry, Jennifer. You're not part of the family, really. You're just kind of there.
Oh, sorry, Enrique. Which might be sad because that might actually be one of my cousin's names. I don't know.
Is he the third cousin that you just don't know about?
Maybe. I don't know. I have a lot of cousins.
But yeah, it's just sad that they go with formulaic, lazy interpretations of films just to sell it based on the name. And it just seems like lately Hollywood.
Smooth.
I mean, it was smooth until
Nathaniel just like burped. He's like, huh?
I just like, what is it? I back up from the microphone to burp.
Back up from the microphone to burp. All right.
Yeah. So it's just unfortunate that happens, but I think Hollywood is just in a state of, let's just do whatever is easiest for the most part. Not every time.
Yeah,
but
Hollywood's in it just for easy money.
there's just like, let's just go into everything is comic book reboot, sequel, prequel.
Yeah.
And let's just do it because it's easy and we make money off of it.
It's a formula to follow, and
safe.
yeah, and it gets us at least 10 years of money.
You know, I think Hollywood needs a reboot. And there are some there are some fantastic films that come out. Don't get me wrong, but they need to really get fresh.
So just from some examples that we have, we did some research and we looked at. So Forrest Gump apparently was hated by the author. What was his name? It was Winston Groom. Oh. And because apparently they made extreme changes to the film, made extreme changes to Jenny's character. Because apparently in the book, I haven't read the book, but apparently, okay, spoiler alert coming. Among other things, Jenny isn't killed off. That's one thing. She doesn't die, and then she goes off and marries another man in the novel.
That is a huge change.
Yeah. So.
That's like a different story type of change.
Yeah, so Jenny basically dumps the child with Forrest, and then goes and gets married to another guy. That's way sadder. Yeah, I feel like he'd still have that that moment where he's standing by the tree saying, he's like, "I miss you, Jenny." That would just be more sad. I miss you, Jenny. If you need anything, I won't be that far away.
So you have like a little bit more about like Forrest Gump and the differences, right?
Yeah,
and like there was like supposed to be a sequel or something.
There was supposed to be. There was a sequel book that the author wrote called Gump and Company.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Which opens up with Forrest saying, "Don't let anyone make a movie about your life."
So was the book made after the movie was?
Yes.
Of the first one?
Yes.
Oh, wow. That is...
It was a direct shot at the movie.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, it was.
That is a shot of tequila.
Yeah.
It's actually poison to the people who made the movie.
Yeah. So, yeah, and just examples like this, it's like this is a perfect example of studio making changes. And like you said before, making huge plot changes, not like little like description changes like the walrus mustache. This is more like, no, this is a significant plot change to where it's like, it's like Jenny doesn't go off and marry some other guy. She's gonna die.
Yeah. See, and this isn't like a consolidation of characters where they have like 5 characters that they can't fit in the film, so they like make them into one character and it just like works for all those reasons. No, this is just like, it's the character, but it just completely changes what happens to her. Because
this makes it more heartfelt, and this will sell more. This product will sell better rather than the story of this evil woman who like uses this mentally challenged man, gets knocked up, dumps the baby, and goes marry some other guy. That's a terrible story that Hollywood doesn't want to write. And I think at the time they didn't want to write it because like I don't think they thought consumers were ready for that.
Right. But like Forrest Gump is considered to be a masterpiece.
Oh no, it is.
Yeah.
But just the author had a problem with it because he's like, hey, you just changed a huge plot point that changes the story. And
this was kind of my story, and you kind of just like butchered it.
Yeah. It was kind of like that with the first iteration, the first adaptation of It by Stephen King. The film series, the film series, like the 2-part film series or whatever. That was it was very similar because there's a lot that they took out from the novel to make that okay to be on TV. And I think a lot of what happened was one, it aired on we're linguists, can you tell? He
was trying to make a clown nose sound, but it just sounded like a fart. Oh, so bad.
But I think if it aired anywhere else but in the U.S., they probably would have been able to go a little bit further with what was like on what was shown on the television, because U.S. censorship is like they're like really really picky.
But also it was like a product of the times, I think. The cheesy.
That is true too. It was very campy, but I think but Curry was like amazing as Pennywise. I don't think anyone can deny that. He was probably like the standout of that film. But what's crazy about it is that Yeah, they took out so much from that, and even in the new adaptation that came out in 2017, they took out a lot from that movie.
They still tamed it down because the book is just
it's messed up.
Let's use the word perverted because it kind of is.
It does get pretty. It gets pretty bad at times.
But I mean, what about a psychopath clown god killer? Isn't just like perverted already? So
I mean,
and in terms of just the word perverted,
it's pretty jacked up.
It is pretty. I mean, he's killing like kids and stuff. He's like eating them. So
yeah.
I mean, Lord of the Rings. So I want to talk about Lord of the Rings because changes sometimes are good, like drastic changes. Mm-hmm. The Lord of the Rings, the 3 films are fantastic.
Yes,
they're fantastic films. Mm-hmm. They won like awards and everything, like Oscars and all that, and for good reason. But they made some of the changes that they made to the book and some of the info to the books and some of the info that they left out is significant.
Yeah,
like
that was the same. That was the same with the Hobbit trilogy, right?
Don't talk about the Hobbit trilogy.
Because they took the one Hobbit book and split it into 3.
Yeah,
right?
We made 3 Lord of the Rings films, so obviously we have to make 3 Hobbit films for one book because the Lord of the Rings was based off one book. No, it was 3 books. Yeah, and like an expanded they had like they took bits and pieces from like
expanded universe
from like
stuff.
Appendices and stuff like that. Anyway. The Lord of the Rings made huge
We're not talking about the Hobbit. We're not talking about that garbage fire.
There's no fire. It's just like smoke and ashes, the pile of crap.
It's just a black hole.
Ugh.
All right, sorry, continue.
Yeah, but I'm so shaken I can't even talk properly anymore. Okay, so the Lord of the Rings were fantastic, but they did make huge changes. But I think it was to the benefit of the medium. It was to the benefit of the film, and I don't think even huge plot changes are necessarily bad if they help the story in the medium that it's being told.
Yeah, I say because like with Forrest Gump, it worked. It did. It's just the writer of the book had an issue with it,
right?
And that was just an example of them changing things.
But also, I think in Forrest Gump, I mean, I didn't read the book, but based on what I know, I think that's a change they didn't need to make.
Yeah,
it's just a change they wanted to make, and
it was already kind of established that Jenny was using Forrest.
Yeah, and even though it was like a maybe effective change, like I don't think it needed to be made, but some of the changes in Lord of the Rings, like taking out the whole like Tom Bombadil story where the hobbits, they're kind of in this forest with this like really weird guy. That's just like I won't go into detail because it's too complicated, but they took that out, and I think it would have made the film too long and I think boring.
It would have dragged it out and it would have taken away from the story.
Yeah, so I think cutting out certain things from books is good. It needs to be done because you just can't have everything.
It also just cuts down on runtime because the Lord of the Rings movies were already long enough. But if they added everything, I think they would have been like 3-4 hour long movies.
Yeah, and also side note, apparently they're in talks about making a Lord of the Rings TV series. Please don't do that. I don't want that to be a thing. I've heard a lot of talk about it, and there's just can you wait like 100 years before you do that or something? But
there's no need to do that. It was a successful trilogy. You don't need to milk it anymore.
I know.
This is just an example of studios going like, okay, we need to we need to make money off of this.
Like, this thing exists. Let's just make another thing off of it, and a prequel, and a sequel, and a reboot because money.
A reboot television series.
We don't care about storytelling. We just want money.
Yeah. This is when you add like the cha-ching sound effect in post.
Yeah, but let's just make it with our mouths. Cha-ching!
Yeah.
Can you do a better one?
No.
No.
I can't follow that. That was amazing.
That was just like, it sounded exactly like the thing.
Going back to source material, I think one of the biggest failures at this was the M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong movie Avatar: The Last Airbender. That live action movie, and I know it pains you to talk about it because
I personally didn't watch it because the animated series is amazing.
Yeah, and basically what it was, this was a rare kind of like, it didn't have like a manga or a book series. It was strictly just an anime,
right? But like an American anime.
But like an American anime that had comics and other and graphic novels that were made afterwards to like add to the story. But this was something that was turned into a live-action adaptation, which, Lord, you want to talk about garbage fire? That was...
They put an entire season into one movie, basically, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Movie. That's generous.
I'll get into people trying to put in a whole season in a movie in just a second. But man, yeah, this movie was terrible because this was a blatant like slap in the face to the source material. They took everything great about that show, and it just was like, so we're throwing that all out, and we're gonna throw in our own continuity.
But we do have we use terms like firebender and stuff, but that's about it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Also, we changed all the races.
It changed all the races. Oh gosh, there's still a scene that just sticks out in my head. There's like 3 earthbenders doing all these moves, and then just one big rock is just floating across the screen.
Are you serious?
It's so bad. And I was gonna say, and firebenders need to carry torches around because they can't create their own fire.
That sounds about right. I mean, it was exactly like that in the animated film.
And then, oh gosh,
yeah, I don't know why
the child actors were terrible.
See, this is not like a thing of budget or casting or
no.
They don't like. This is just completely different creative vision, and by vision I mean they
blindness.
were blind. Yeah,
they were just blind.
They were just like grasping for.
They were just creative. They were just creatively blind. And so bad.
These are the type of changes like in Lord of the Rings where you have stuff like Eowyn was like a way smaller part in the book, and she was like more in the background.
Yeah.
And I remember I hated on her a lot before when I was younger because I read the books and she wasn't as prominent. But I think it does help for film, and it helps like ground Aragorn and all that. But these changes like this in Airbenders, just when you make it into something completely else, it's not a change that helps the medium and the story being told.
Yeah.
It's just like you I don't know what you're trying to do. You're just trying to make it mainstream, but you're just failing at everything, and you should just quit being a director. And everyone involved in that should just be taken from Hollywood and put into, I don't know, a quarantine.
It was so bad.
A creative quarantine.
But but going on what I was saying before, like there was so I mentioned way in the beginning when I said like, oh, like the list of movies that I watched, like the ones that I talked about, those are the ones that I watched that were good. There was one that I watched that was particularly bad, and this
like stinking turd ball of Oblivion bad.
Like this was worse than the Avatar, The Last Airbender. I honestly, like, if I had to watch one of them, I would watch the Avatar one. Now, this...
So you pick the one that makes your eyes bleed the least.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
It's basically 2 bowls of crap. The only difference is the smell. And so... And this is really sad because this was from... So this is a rare, like, book to animated show or anime to live action film. This was like a rare one of those things. And it was the Full Metal Alchemist.
Okay.
And... the manga, great. The anime, amazing. More specifically, Brotherhood. I love
right.
That's
because
like I think that goes down as like one of my favorite anime of all time.
It's my favorite anime.
Yeah,
I mean it adapts the manga series fully because the previous one, the full manga wasn't out yet. So they had to kind of create stuff. But the anime. Yeah.
So them going off the source material wasn't necessarily their fault because the manga wasn't completed yet. But now, but in 2009, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood came out. And that by then, the entire manga was completed.
So they adapted the whole thing.
Yeah, they were able to stick very closer to the source material. I think they only changed like 1 or 2 things, but it worked and it was fine. Talking about this live action movie that Netflix made.
So I'm guessing this was like really bad.
I mean, they basically
like
they for anyone who is a Full Metal Alchemist fan, or for those of you who don't know what it is, briefly, it's in a world, a universe where the science of alchemy is very, it kind of like bonds like the universe, and it kind of becomes this magic, but it's still treated as science, and there's still people who like study alchemy, and they become and the best alchemists become, or they are recruited by the nation and the government to be soldiers. And
there's a lot of talk of philosophy. There's comedy. There's like everything you want.
Yes, and the anime
done well.
The anime is amazing. Now the movie.
You're very emotional right now.
In
not a good way.
They cover Leor. They cover Shao Tucker. They cover Killing Lust. They cover like 5 arcs
in one movie.
Oh, and the Wall of Briggs isn't in it.
Just because, just throw it in.
Armstrong isn't in it.
Oh, does not throw it in. Okay.
No. Armstrong isn't in it.
Yeah.
Which he's like probably one of the best characters.
So basically, what they should have done is either set it up to be a lot of films, or just picked one arc.
Or they could have just made a live action series.
Or they could have just not made this film.
Oh, they could have just not.
So everything just didn't work, basically.
Oh man, and
it
was bad because it's like they changed like plot points, like in a way that didn't make sense, and it was terrible. Like
so they added a lot, but they also changed plot points.
And it was terrible. And then like, oh gosh, what was it? Fear Bradley isn't in it either. Like one of the main villains of the entire thing. One of the characters that really drives the plot of the story. He's not in it. Father's not in it.
What? Okay, so basically, why does this exist? They just wanted to put the Fullmetal Alchemist name on it, and I don't know what they were actually trying to do. What do you think they were trying to do with this movie?
They were trying to make money.
That's it.
That's all they were trying to do, and it sucked so bad.
I guess they just didn't get good talent for this movie either. They just kind of
and I feel bad because I'm sure that the actors that they got for the movie in Japan, because this was
also like Japanese live action films aren't known to be that great,
right?
Already,
and I try to give them some slack and some credit because this was a fully Japanese cast, and this was the movie was in Japanese. Funny enough, when I downloaded it on Netflix, there was a German dub, so I watched it in German with English subtitles.
Japanese language.
So that was funny, but
the original Japanese.
Oh, good lord!
Wow.
Good lord! It's just like I'm sure that these actors that they got in Japan, they're like popular and they're well known, and I'm sure they're probably like really good actors. But it just didn't work. The story didn't work. It was so rushed and put together, and aesthetically, it was just not good.
So I think at the end of the day, this whole discussion, like, the word you said, story.
Mm-hmm.
It's about telling a fantastic story.
Yes.
And when that is compromised, and the changes are made, whether it's for money or just like visual reasons, if it's not telling a good story, we don't care.
Yeah.
It's not going to hold our interest.
Yeah.
And it's just not good. Because movies really are storytelling. And that's what should be at the center. And if that's just not there, and it's just done for like the director's like personal, just like pride or whatever.
Yeah, I love movies, and I love the stories that they can tell, and I love the idea of being able to show people and not tell them like that. And when book adaptations have to tell you everything, so that you
when they're a visual medium,
so that you understand, a reference from a book or something like that, then
they've already failed.
Yeah, it's not going to work, and I feel like you should be able to show me what the book was telling me.
Because I think it's so beautiful when you can take like 10 pages of a book and put it in like a 1-minute scene, all visual, no dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
It's just incredible that movies can do that.
Oh yeah, and I think at the end of the day, like we're still going to get crappy adaptations only because Hollywood. They just want to make money, and that's and I liked what you said before. I think the only way to fix this is to reboot Hollywood. I think Hollywood needs a reboot.
Yeah, and I think like some of the best films that are coming out of Hollywood right now, like consistently, are like comic book movies, like
and
Marvel.
That can be a whole other conversation,
right?
Because it's like that's a complete. I feel like that like reading material is a whole other thing, because there's still images in it, so it's like the source material is different.
Yeah.
So it's like they can pull from the source material.
There's also like a lot of versions to pull from.
That's true.
But
they can like mix versions and universes and stuff like that. Yeah.
So so basically Hollywood, like if you're gonna adapt a book, like only do it. Okay, they're not gonna listen to us because they're just doing it for money. But please just
if you are listening to us,
if you are listening, adapt a book because you're gonna tell a good story, and that's ideally what they would do. Mm-hmm. But it seems like things aren't going to change.
In a perfect world, Hollywood would focus on quality, not like quantity,
Mm-hmm.
and not like how much money they can make, but more on like sticking true to the source material and making sure that it's good. But we don't live in a perfect world,
No.
so
Just tell a good story, and that's what I want to see. I don't know. Like, a lot of audiences don't want to see a good story a lot of the time. They just want to see something they're comfortable with, too. That's like a whole nother thing.
yeah, we can go on for hours about this, but so I think in the end, I just want a good story. Like, I
Yeah.
want to be involved in the story. I don't want to, I feel like a lot of book to film adaptations just become fan service,
Mm-hmm.
and they become very making campy references and stuff like that. So it's like, oh, if you read the book, then you get why this is funny. And it's like, instead of actually telling that to everyone so that everyone gets it. I feel like a lot of book to film adaptations, there's a lot of inside jokes to it, where it's like,
and that's fine having a few of those, but
Yeah.
it should the film adaptation should stand on its own. The book should stand on its own, but they shouldn't be completely different things.
Mm-hmm.
They should just be translated to film where it is still good. It's just its own thing, but it's still faithful. But it's not just word for word everything out of the book too.
Yeah, right. I mean,
Because they are different mediums, and not
Yeah, they
everything
are.
on paper is going to work in a movie.
That's true. Well, I mean, I think yeah, we could probably go on longer on this, but we got to cut it off at some point. Otherwise, we'll be here all day. So, I'm Evan.
I mean, I'm still Nathaniel. Nothing has changed, but
Thank you for...
maybe we'll make a movie someday. Who knows? But we won't adapt a book because that's just too much pressure. Make more original ideas on it.
Yeah.
Please.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We'll see you guys next time. Okay. Bye-bye.
Take with a sushi.
It's just my typical old Japanese man voice. Nathaniel,
Katana sushi.
you bring dishonor to the whole family.
Haha, plot twist. That was my plan.
Mitsubishi Toyota. I was gonna say Hyundai, but that's Korean, isn't it?
Honda, I think, is also Japanese.
It is.
think so.
Which one is the one made by Korean?
Samsung? I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that's still Japanese.
I don't know which one it is.
Oh my
Do
god.
Koreans make cars?
I